Hello and welcome back. Just a quick recap on the last lesson. We looked at a couple of ways of setting styles within one particular HTML file. So the first way we looked at was by creating a style block in the head. So here we said everything that's a P element will be colored red. And then we also looked at how we could override that for a specific paragraph by using the style attribute. And we overrode the red color with this blue. In this lesson, I'm going to look at how we can move these into a separate style sheet, which can be applied to lots of HTML files. But before we do that, I'd just like to show you a setting I've been using recently. If you pop up the settings and go to integrated browser like this, hopefully you'll find this live preview use integrated browser and browser open localhost links. If you switch both of these on, then rather than using Chrome, you can actually use the internal browser inside VS Code. Now I'm using this in combination with the live preview extension which I installed in the introduction. So now if I just right click and say show preview, you can see the VS Code internal browser pops up. If I hit F12, you can see that down below the developer tools are exactly the same as they were in Chrome. And also it has this major benefit that as the name implies, it's a live preview. So if I hit M for morning, if I capitalize the first letter, you can see it happens absolutely instantly in the browser. Let me show you that again in case you missed it. I'll change time for coffee, I'll capitalize T and C, and you can see the letters are capitalizing straight away. So the combination of using the live preview extension and the integrated browser is absolutely brilliant. Now back to what we were talking about, which was moving these styles out of the individual HTML page and moving them into a separate style sheet file. So let's create the file to start with. I'll call it index.css. And I'll display that below so we can see the two at the same time. And it's easy enough to transfer this style into the style sheet. I literally just cut it out of here and paste it into here. And if I save the two, you'll see that it's not working. And the reason is that we have to link the two. We have to tell the HTML document about the existence of the CSS file. And that's easily done simply by inserting a link element into the head of the HTML document like this. And obviously I can now remove this style. And here we're saying the relationship is style sheet and the file name is index.css. And now you can see, having done that, the red color has come back. So let's put another one in. Let's add P color blue and save that. And you can see essentially it reads the CSS file from top to bottom, and anything later will override anything earlier. So here the blue color is overriding the red color. So if I want to set most paragraphs to be red, but I want this individual paragraph to be blue, that can easily be done by assigning the paragraph what's called an ID. So for instance, I can say ID equals blue text paragraph like that. And then rather than saying I want all paragraphs to be blue, I can say hash, which means anything with the ID. And then blue text paragraph. Let me just copy that in. Hash blue text paragraph. And we'll now see we've achieved exactly what we had before. I'm saying that all paragraphs should have the red color, but then I've overridden this for hash blue text paragraphs. So any paragraphs whose ID is blue text paragraph will be given the color blue. Now, the nature of IDs is that, as the name sort of implies, an ID can only be assigned to one particular element. You can't have multiple paragraphs all with the same ID. So this is absolutely fine if all we want to do is to identify one specific element. We can use the ID. But what happens if there's a handful of elements or a group of elements and we want them to all have a specific property? And to do this, we use what's called a class. So for instance, here I can say class equals header. And here I can say class equals header, and the word header is completely arbitrary. I could use my header. Let's do that, just make it quite clear that I'm making this up. So class equals my header, and then just like down here we identified the ID with a hash. With a class we identify it with a dot, so I can say dot my header, and in here let's say color is green. And now you can see both of these headers have got a green color. Now I'm running out of space a little bit, so let me just make these smaller. Okay, and now I can make this a little bit bigger. So this class type here is great if we want to identify very specific elements. But we may want all header 1 and all header 2s to have some property, and to do that we literally just separate them with a comma. So I can say h1 comma h2, and then I can apply a property to these. So for instance, I can change the font family like this, and now you can see these have become sans serif. So just to be quite clear, by doing it this way, h1 comma h2, this means every single header 1 and header 2 takes this property. Whereas by doing it this way, dot my header, I'm just saying anything that is specified as having a class of my header will inherit this property. There's one other thing that I find I use quite frequently, and to show you this I'm going to have to create a div. So let me just quickly add this in. If I create a div like this, and then I create a paragraph here, and I say inside div paragraph 1, and then I'll copy this down and call this inside div paragraph 2. Now let's say that I want to set a property of the first paragraph only within this div. I can do that by saying div space and then p colon first child, and then for instance I can say font weight colon bold, and now this first paragraph inside the div is bold and the second one is not. So you can see generically the way the index.css file is laid out is, first of all, we have what's called a selector, and then we have the styles that are applied to that particular selector. And the selectors we've looked at are element types, elements with a particular ID, elements with a particular class. We've looked at lists of element types, and also the first child within, in this case, a div. This is actually the tip of the iceberg, and if you want to learn more, just Google CSS Selectors and you'll find a whole list of other ways of doing this. But this is all we're going to require, and to be honest, in my experience, 90%, maybe as much as 99% of all the selectors I've used fit into one of these categories. So that will certainly do for this course. So we'll bring this lesson to a close, and I'll see you in the next.